Welcome to day one of our beach blanket sew-along. Hopefully you have your fabrics all picked out and ready to cut. If you don't, take a look at the fabric requirements for this project and determine what cotton wovens you want to use. Today, we are going to cut all of our fabric strips and get them ready to start sewing tomorrow. First, you will lay your fabric on your workspace with the folded edge near your body and selvages higher up on the workspace. Then you will bring the folded edge up to meet both selvages at the top. All you're doing is folding the fabric twice, so you have a smaller piece of fabric to cut strips from. Smooth out your fabric to ensure there are no lumps or bumps. Square off the fabric by making sure that the folded edge on top lays straight and lines up with the marks on the mat. Then, using your ruler, match up the top and bottom of the ruler to the same measurement on the mat. This creates a straight edge for you to start your cuts. When you cut fabrics A through D, you're going to measure 6.5 inches on your mat and cut a strip. Measure another 6.5 inches and cut to get your second strip. You may have to move your work in order to get the third strip, but it works just like the other two. Make sure your fabric lines up with the mat at the top, smooth out any ripples, then count out 6.5 inches and cut your third strip. Repeat this process for all of your main strips until you have 3 strips of fabric measuring 6.5 inches by the width of fabric. Remember, the width of fabric is the length from selvage to selvage. Typically with cotton wovens, this is about 44 to 45 inches. Now it's time to move on to the 3.5 inch strips. You're going to need 11 of these. Repeat the same process you did with the earlier cuts, folding and smoothing out your fabric, then using your ruler and mat for measurements. When we sew our strips together, if you are using a print, make sure the print is facing the same direction before you sew. There's nothing worse than sewing together prints and realizing one is upside down and you have to break out the seam ripper. You're going to sew on the selvage edge, making sure that your seam allowance is large enough to hide the selvage. For fabrics A through D, stitch together all 3 strips at the selvage, making 1 long strip per fabric. You will have 4 long strips when this step is complete. From each of these long strips, you will cut 2 segments measuring 52 inches each. I used my cutting mat to help me measure. When that step is complete, it's time to sew the 3.5 inch strips together at the selvage. 3 of these long strips will be 3 strips long, and 1 of them will only be 2 strips long, giving you a total of 4 strips. Use your mat and ruler to cut these strips into 52 inch segments as well. You should have a total of 7 3.5 inch by 52 inch strips when you are done. Now that your workstation is covered in piles of fabric, take a photo and share it in the photo album for day 1. Make sure and post photos in each daily Facebook album in order to qualify for the sew-along prize of a $25 gift certificate to Apothecary Fabrics. We will announce the random winner on the morning of June 4th from everyone who posted a progress photo in each of the 3 daily albums. Have fun!